Welcome to the Home Education with Ease podcast. I'm your host, Christine Furman, a homeschool mom, entrepreneur, and educator with over 20 years of experience in the areas of elementary and special education. It's my mission to help you create lifelong learners and embrace a holistic approach to education at home. I'll be sharing practical strategies, inspiration, and resources to support your family. Whether you're a stay-at-home mom, a business owner, or balancing work and homeschool, you're in the right place to connect with a community that values education just as much as you do. Join us each week as we ditch the stress, embrace the joy of learning, and set your family up for a lifetime of success. Hey friend, welcome back to the Home Education with Ease podcast. I'm your host, Christine Furman, your home education expert. Today, we're diving into things that I really want my kids to know during our homeschool journey. We had an interview with Ella, my daughter, a couple episodes ago, and I've shared different things that I want to teach, and I do teach. But what are the things that I really want them to walk away from this experience with? I'm going to share that with you today. Well, I am just so grateful that you are here today because it's truly coming straight from my heart to yours. My experiences, the things that have happened within my own home. And I truly hope that these experiences can inspire you and lift you up and provide you with the support and encouragement you need to know that you are doing amazing. And this journey, while sometimes it's hard and difficult, and we wonder, what are we even doing? We want to throw in the towel. It's so beautiful and so rewarding. And whatever that journey may be, maybe that journey is motherhood. That was me years ago when I was working full-time, balancing that and toddlers, kids at home. It was a challenge. While it was a struggle, it was so rewarding too. Of course, there were moments of challenge and difficulty, but also those moments snuggling up and cuddling and seeing their smiles made every challenge worth it. And then you just continue to have different challenges throughout this journey. We walked into toddler stage or preschool stage, or them really becoming who they are or understanding that they have some independence. That could be a challenging stage for sure. And I'm sure I could talk a whole lot about all of that, but we'll save that for another episode. And then we get into the stages of, young school age, preteens, hormonal stages, whether you're homeschooling or your kids are in school, whether you have toddlers or your kids are adults, right? Every journey is different. And I hold space for every single situation and journey out there because I know everything is unique. Every opportunity, everything that we experience is unique to us personally and our families. So I want to share some of the experiences within my own family, and I do hope that they are helpful for your family. Because if you guys have been here for a while, you know that when I talk about our homeschool journey, it's not just about the academics. It's about being intentional. It's about ensuring that our kids are well-rounded, well-educated, problem solvers, critical thinkers, and setting them up for success in this big world. So we're going to talk about that today. And I'm just going to share some of these opportunities that have come up from experiences that we have had within our own home. So I do hope that it encourages you and that you can kind of take this on your own personal journey and maybe tweak some things because, like I said, every situation is uniquely perfect. I love to say that because truly every child is uniquely perfect and every family has their own dynamics and are uniquely perfect. So let's dive in. But before we do that, I just want to share, if you are looking for something that like a community where you want to feel connected, a space where, homeschool families come together, or families that value education. You may not even be a homeschool family, but you value education for your kids. Well, the Home Education with Ease Collective is launching in May, and I would love to have you be a part of that. So be sure to stay tuned at the end. I'll be sharing more there about that collective coming up in May. But before that, what I would love to know is I would love to know what is something that you really want your kids to take away from their homeschool journey, or whatever season of life you're in. What is something that you want them to take away and say, yes, from homeschooling, I instilled this in them. From this season of life, we instilled these skills, this character. What are those things? And I would love for you guys to join the Home Education with Ease Facebook group and share those things that you want your kids to know, what the really important skills and things that you want them to know during this journey in that Facebook group. All right, well, let's dive in. So let's talk about the deep purpose of homeschooling for us. And while some people may think, wow, you get to choose your curriculum or you have the flexibility. And yeah, that all that stuff is great. I do create our curriculum actually because I have a plethora of curriculum from when I taught, and I'm able to look at what there is, what the skills are, and I'm able to create that curriculum and say, these are the skills that your child needs to succeed and to get to the next level. The flexibility, we love it. We travel often and we have a very flexible schedule. I'm able to run a business. My kids help with that business, and we have school at the same time. This week was kind of a busier week, but it was beautiful because as I was working on big tasks, one of them was helping me on the other computer and working on a state book that I have for a curriculum that is coming out, which I love this part too, because they are then learning all of these facts about states because they're actually creating it. And they're like, Mom, did you know that this is the state nickname, or this state was, accepted into the union at this time, right? Like, it's so beautiful to hear all of those facts coming from them. And then the other kiddo was working on other schoolwork that they had. And then after a while, after a break, they would switch. And I was working and I would stop and I would help them answer questions. And it really was a beautiful balance that, trust me, it's taking a lot of years to get here. My kids, just for reference, are 8 and 10. Was it that way even 6 months ago? No. Was it that way when they were, 5 and 7? No. I was totally committed. And trust me, there are still times that I'll be totally intentional with my time and sit with them. This week just was not one of those weeks, but we still were able to accomplish skills and tasks. But there's so much more about homeschooling. And I shared last week more about my why in the new book that's coming out, Expanding Your Brilliance. And I shared just my deeper why of like, yeah, I wanted to be home with my kids. I wanted to be able to, protect them in different ways. And yes, that's a huge part of it, protecting them, knowing what they're exposed to. What am I teaching? What are they learning? Where am I teaching? All of those things. That all leads into the flexibility, the freedom, the curriculum, right? But there's so much more because the opportunity to homeschool for us allows my kids and probably your kids to blossom into who God called them to be, uncovering their gifts and providing them with an opportunity to try things out, fail, and watch them figure it out. So then that way they can succeed. Problem solving, adapting the situation, changing it up, and trying again until they can get to that success that they're hoping for. Well, recently, Alex was helping a friend carry something from our yard to their yard. It was kind of big and bulky, and I was watching to see if they needed help. So I was on standby, kind of seeing, and I just was in awe of the problem-solving skills that I saw from them because they would pick it up one way, and it was like, "No, can't really carry it that way. We can only get a few steps." And then they picked it up a different way, and they're like, it's a little bit better until they figured it out. Did they have to take breaks? Sure. But they figured it out. And that just made my heart so happy because those are the moments that matter. Can they solve the problem and figure it out? That's what we want for our kids. Whenever they encounter a hard problem, it could even be within their schoolwork. Whenever they encounter a hard situation, whenever they encounter difficulty, challenges, struggles, what are they going to do? Watch them. See what they're going to do before jumping in so quickly to solve the problem for them, because that's not allowing them to be problem solvers. That just took the problem away and we fixed it. Are there times I do that? Probably, right? How many times is it like, oh my gosh, I could do that faster, right? But think about our kids tying their shoes for the first time. I'm well past those years, but I remember them because let me tell you, they wanted to do it so bad. They want to do the task. But if we jump in right away and we just tie their shoe for them real quick, because of course it's going to take us 2 seconds and it's going to take them a few minutes, they lost their problem solving skills. They didn't lose them, but in that moment they did because you just solved the problem for them. And that may turn into a tantrum, right? Because if your kids want to be independent, then that independence is gone now because we just took it away from them. So the same thing could have happened whenever I watched them carry. It was actually a small bookshelf. It wasn't too big, but it was heavier. Alex came in, he's like, whew, that was heavier than I expected it to be. But trust me, I was there. I was ready. If they needed me, I would have been there to help them. But I wanted to see what they were going to do. And guess what? They figured it out. And I love that. So, are they willing to struggle a little bit before asking for help? And sometimes maybe not. Maybe when they're coming up with a new skill for school, I sit there with them and I go over it with them because I don't want them to be frustrated. But sometimes there are those moments that we want them to figure it out, to encounter some difficulties, some challenges. The other thing is talking about their character, right? So these are things that you're not going to find in a curriculum. There's not going to be a checklist for, did your kids problem solve a situation and struggle? That's just not typically going to be in a curriculum that you're going to just purchase, right? How did your kids develop character? Guess what? That's within this EduPlay curriculum. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I am providing opportunities for. Sharing them right here with you today, sharing them with my clients. They share their problems and difficulties with me, and I provide them with opportunities to say, well, maybe try this or try that out. So I'm offering this to you as well. Think about these little moments that may seem so insignificant, but are so, so important. So let's talk about character. In this big, wide world, there's so much noise out there. Things can get muted very simply, very easily. We could just cover things up and you just don't even realize, right? But how are we really developing character? Because if we just allow all the distractions to take over us, is there an opportunity to do something that builds character when no one's watching? Maybe, maybe not. So Alex, he'll be my other example here today. Like I said, I'm going to share examples from things that we've experienced here. Don't worry. A little bit later on, or even maybe the next episode, I might break this into 2 episodes because there really is so much here that I just want to share so many wonderful little pieces with you. So another situation that happened over the past few months, Christmas actually is when this happened. Alex, there was a Christmas exchange at our house with some of our friends. And I remember him coming up to me and saying, "Oh, I got the gift that I purchased." And like the moms, we said, trade like without being unwrapped, but just make sure whenever you get a gift before they unwrap it, it's not one that you brought. So we did that. Everyone had a gift that was not something that they brought when they opened it up. And then we said, listen, if you guys want to trade, as long as there's no tears, as long as everyone's happy, go for it. Go ahead and trade. So moms get to talking. And then I remember Alex coming up and saying, I traded and I got the Lego set that we bought. And I was like, oh, okay, really cool, But I was only half listening. I don't quite remember the whole situation. So then months later, he says to me, we were getting ready to go to a friend's birthday party and we had to stop at Target and buy a gift. And he goes, Mom, I really want to get him this Lego set. And I was like, okay, like that's fine. And it took him a minute. He's like, but remember whenever we did the Christmas gift exchange? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, he wanted the gift that I got. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, well, here in my mind, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I hope you didn't trade with someone and took the gift that you wanted because we bought it, right? Like I'm thinking, I don't know what happened in that moment. And so we go to the store, we pick out that Lego set that his friend wanted, and we go to the party and I'm telling the moms about this situation. And I'm like, geez, I just hope, Alex didn't switch the gift just to get what he wanted. And my friend reminded me and said so sweetly, she was like, listen, even if that did happen, even if he switched the gifts or he traded to get what he wanted and he was happy, because my thing was, I would feel terrible if someone left with something that they didn't want and they traded and maybe they didn't want to trade. Like that's what I was really worried about. And she said, but even if that happened, months later, I mean, like 4 months later, he remembered that situation and he wanted to make it right. He wanted to make sure that his friend had the Lego set that he wanted. And she was like, that's awesome right there. And I think sometimes we miss those opportunities, those moments, and we kind of brush them off. But those are character building moments. And yeah, who knows what happened in that moment back in December. But months later, he wanted to make it right. Trust me, I'm never saying that my son and my children are always right because we all are learning, right? This is all new experiences for everyone, new experiences for them, new experiences for me as a mom, but just want to keep trying our best and doing the best that we can with what we have. That's really important. So another thing is I want my children to know that, or all children, honestly, to be able to explore in this big world and know that with hard work, perseverance, patience, and prayers, anything is possible because there are going to be these moments. And sometimes we want instant gratification, probably more times than not, right? And that's hard for our kids sometimes. Think about watching TV, right? Our kids don't necessarily understand commercials like we, as the 80s, 90s kids, had to sit down and watch commercials, or you had to run to the bathroom real quick and get back before your show started, or your show only came on a specific time during the day. That doesn't happen anymore. We literally have every show and movie at our fingertips at any moment with minimal or no commercials. So that's something that they don't understand. So instant gratification is I want it and I want it right now. And I know for me as a kid, that was not the case. And I want to make sure that they know that too. That sometimes, a lot of times, right? We got to work hard. We got to persevere through the hard times. We got to have patience. And we have to trust and we have to pray. Because a lot of times, what we want is not what he wants. And just helping our kids understand that. I actually just saw a little meme today. So we're coming up on Easter, and it had two rabbits with carrots. And the one rabbit had a real long green stalk on the carrot above the surface. But under the surface, the orange part of the carrot was really, really short. So it had real green. It was beautiful and big. And the carrot was beaming like, yes, I've got this prized carrot, right? But under the ground, it was small. And then the other rabbit had this tiny green at the top. And it was so disappointed. Like, oh man, I worked so hard and I only got this far. But then under the surface was that huge carrot. And I was like, whoa, that is a good little scenario right there. We never know what is coming next. And just making sure that our kids know that. So for Ella, I love watching her mind race. New business ideas, watching her creativity shine through in all she does, right? Her kindness. She's always making cards or bracelets for friends, like a specific drawing for someone's birthday, like always just being so thoughtful. And I love that. And I love also being able to teach her in the process of all the things that she does. So let's say for her business, for example, she put out a flyer and it had 4 different services on that flyer. And I said, that's great. Go ahead. Let's put it out there. I love it. And then after a conversation, when her and I were just laying in bed one night, and that's honestly some of the best moments are right before bedtime. And we just sit there and we just talk about the day, about things that are on her mind. Because she's like me, there's constantly ideas flowing all the time. And sometimes it's hard to keep up with them all. But it was an opportunity for me to sit there and to talk with her and say, you know what? When I started my business, I had one product, one service, but I didn't perfect it the way I should have. Because I kept thinking, well, I can do this, and I can do this, and I can do this. I have all these things that I can do. And I just kept bouncing from one project to the next, one project to the next, without fully completing the circle to making sure that first project ran smoothly. Guilty as charged. There's my little habit, I guess. I don't know. My own personal challenges here. But it gave me the opportunity to then share that with her and say, but I want so much more for you. I want you to see the trials that I went through. They didn't go as well as I planned. It didn't happen as easily as I wanted it to because I want peace in my life. I want peace in our life. It doesn't have to be so hard all the time. Please hear me when I say that. It really doesn't have to be so hard. And if you need help in that, please reach out because I've done the hard. And I'm ready to walk into this peace and ease within it all. So in those moments, as we lay there before bedtime, I share with her, listen, focus on one service that you want to focus on. What is that? What is that one thing you want to do? Perfect it. And then once that system is running smoothly, add another service. And it was in those moments that I'm able to take something, again, not from the books. That's not in the textbooks. That's not a math lesson or a reading lesson or grammar or science or social studies. This is life. And it's so important. And I was able to share that with her in that moment at 10 years old. And then to see her reflect on it and to see her just think about that. And another idea popped into her head. This actually just happened today. Another idea popped into her head. And she said, well, Mom, I want to do training, but once I get those other services down, then I'll add that in. And I was like, oh, good girl. Like, way to make me so proud. And a lot of these conversations, either they're before bed or they're in the car. So a lot of times they're talking and we're having conversations. They're behind me and I'm in the front seat just beaming because I'm like, yes, these conversations are sinking in. These conversations are so important. And where do they happen? At bedtime? In the car? While we're waiting for an appointment? Let me just share with you, the screens are not a distraction for us. That's really important for me to share with you. I'm a huge advocate for not giving our kids a screen to occupy their time. Does it happen sometimes for us? Sure. There may be times when we're at Costco and I'm just like, here, sit in the cart, watch a Wildcat show or whatever it is. And I know they're getting older now, but still, sometimes this happens. It's after a rushed morning. It's after church. It's after a busy day. Costco's busy. Let's just get in and get out. Is it a norm? No. But sometimes it's a reward or it's a little treat. But screens aren't something that we turn on in the car. We don't have our TV on all the time. We limit games. I don't even want to say video games because we really don't even have video games in our house. We literally just got the Wii and we play Mario and that's it. And I'm okay with that. And that doesn't even happen regularly. So take those moments when we're in the car, when it's quiet time, and just talk. Just listen because they have a lot to say. And there's so many moments that we can truly share with them that don't come from normal school that we think of teaching. And I'll just leave you with this and then we'll continue this conversation next week. But where I said, like, this doesn't happen in the textbooks. It doesn't happen in the workbooks. What I like to call everything that we do is an activity or an activity sheet because it sounds more fun, right? It's exciting. And a lot of times we use them as a guide. I don't sit there and say, here you go, here's a worksheet of I hate to say 100 problems because that's a huge exaggeration, but even 20. Here's 20 addition problems or 20, word problems or whatever it is. No. First of all, let's talk about them. Let's go over them together. Show me what you know, and we'll practice it. That, to me, is what it's about. If you want more of that, if you would love to know how we incorporate skills like this into our curriculum, please, please reach out. Not only do we have the Home Education with Ease Collective coming out in May, that is a virtual program for members to join from anywhere. And we'll be meeting a couple times a month. One of those times would be an opportunity for you to ask questions. And I can answer them. I can take your scenario and provide you with some suggestions. Another session would be getting on a call together with our kids and creating an activity, whether it's a craft or a recipe. It's building those connections. And we'll talk more about that next episode. And then another call would be me sharing even more with you. Whatever you want to learn about on your homeschool journey, I'll be sharing that with you. So stay tuned for the Homeschool Collective because that is coming out in May. So there is a form in the show notes below. You guys can fill that out and I will get in touch with you and I'll give you all the details for it. But it's a perfect way to not only, like I said, it could be homeschool or not, but really providing peace in your home within yourselves, you and your children, clarity for your journey, homeschool or life, and joy for your entire family. So if you want those, please reach out and let's get connected. Hop on that wait list for the Home Education with Ease Collective that will open in May, and that link is in the show notes below. And I would love, love, love for you to be a part of it. Well, like I said, we're going to continue this conversation next week because there is still so much I want to share with you about my deep why of why we're homeschooling, of what are the things that I really want my kids to take away from this journey and this experience. And I would love to know what yours is. I would love to know, what is it that you want your kids to remember about this season? Like I said, whatever season that is. And how are we doing that? Well, remember, I'm just so excited that you are here. Thank you very much for being here. I want to say that you are absolutely amazing. Have a great week, and I will see you next week. Thank you for tuning in to the Home Education with Ease podcast. I hope today's episode left you feeling empowered and ready to take the next steps on your home education journey. Your support means the world to me. Please subscribe, leave a review, and share with a friend. For even more resources, be sure to join the free Facebook group, Home Education with Ease, and visit eduplaylearning.com to explore programs and subscription kits. You can find the links and any other links mentioned in this episode in the show notes below. Remember, you're not alone. This community is here to support you every step of the way.